college mukamaliza kulandira pocket money kwa makolo kwa amene malandira pocket money, bwerani kulizi kunjako. Izi zikudikirani. Tikumvana, eh? Yeah. So these challenges require intervention from all stakeholders, including government. NIF is government, by the way, because it's a government agency responsible for disbursing loans. So that we can harness my skills amene mukuchoka nawo kuno. So when you are coming out of this institution, have that broad-minded approach. Some of you will get employed. Some of you will only require your skills to put them into use and make a livelihood. These are realities. Not all of you are going to be employed. Tilindi anthu amene timaitana ku interview, I graduated 10 years ago. In fact, Dr. Tione, Dr. Piri, when we were doing first interviews with NIF in 2021 to employ loan officers, we only needed 100. We interviewed in excess. We had over 6,000 applicants. We shortlisted a little around 3,000. We had to interview over 2,000. Are you seeing this? We only wanted 100. 40 years back, around 1985, 86, 84, 83, my institutions fall amatopita pa college. Kumakanganana mwana mmodzi. That's how things were. 40 years later, ana 6,000, akukanganira na maposta angati 100. Ndeuti wewe kuti utengedwetu, ndeuti agogo ako akhale kuti ndokhwima kwambiri. Ndekuti nkhuni zokha chipinda chimodzi adangosunga ko nkhuni zokha. That's the reality of how things are. So, unfortunately, amene muli my economists, mukamachita modeling, when you are undertaking some regression analysis and what have you, mapeza kuti muli variable ina nkati mwa variable ikukangana so ndina nkati momwe. So while we have all those challenges, kupeza kuti inuso ndinuso a very huge component of the population accounting for 50% or more. Meaning kuti mavuto anu angoyamba. Zimveka zimeze? Mavuto angotani? Angoyamba. This is a reality. You are just too many. And ipanopa pabola pakati apa ma 2000, 2001, 2002 chifukwa cha HIV and AIDS anthu amafa komwe changu kwambiri. So there was hope. Nakasema kusirani ma. Kwa panopa the reality is we are living longer. We are living longer. In fact, in 2004, between 2000 to 2004, when HIV and AIDS was at its peak, lifespan in Malawi was 37 years. Panopa over 60. So it means kuti munthu akamakuza kuti retirement age yafika ya 60 mu office, umakhala kuti uli young at heart. Not willing to live. Negotiating for 3-4 other years. These are realities. So, it's either you focus your mind to get a salaried employment and get a salary every month right away from here, or you prepare your mind to focus in other productive efforts. It will be agriculture, it will be general trading, it will be anything else, as long as that gives you means of livelihood and you can expose yourself, even exploiting your talent. Tiyambira apa ukambirana. Mukamatuluka muno muziwa kuti aidha mukalembedwa ntchito imene khuzubwera mwachangu kapena muochedwa kwambiri, olo mukangoyamba zanu zimene mukhuzuyamba as and when you are ready. The difference between the two. Scroll down. However, what we must also observe and point out at the onset is that you as a youth, one, you have shied away from innovation and entrepreneurship, thereby highly contributing to low contribution to economic growth. Chilungamo chake nchakuti, economic growth does not come about on account of people salaried, employed, enslaved by somebody else. But rather it comes from people who have harnessed their talents, resource availability, and the other opportunities that have crept up in the environment to make ends meet. Ndikupatse an example. Ndikuchokera ku Nsalu. What we have observed is tayamba winter cropping ku NIF. Imene we are encouraging youths angopeza akhale mugulu not less than 50, koma aliyense akhale ndi not less than an acre. So what we have observed is, if youths were to be in a group today, tiapatsa fertilizer, tiapatsa mbewu ya chimanga, tiapatsa solar pump, the 50 youths, iwo hambo task yawo angopeza mtsinje odalirika. Mmene alili na njiri uja mmadutsa kuseri udadutsa kuseri kwanuko. Mmene alili na njiri uja. Then kaachita lendi malo asonkherana atenga madimba kwa alimi. Do you know kuti if those youths were to cultivate, let me challenge you because you are intellectuals. If a youth, a graduate, were to cultivate 5 acres, ndi pampuyo ndi azinzake, he can harvest in the next 4 months as many as 200 bags of maize. He can sell those 200 bags of maize at 40,000 remotes, and he can get as much as 80 million. And do you know how much inputs and resources is going to put into the 5 acres is just 10 bags. That's 1.2 million. Seed, Vamini Bobo is 50 kgs of seed. That's about 400 something thousand. And the contribution to the pump, which is selling at 14 million, Paradipa and 50, your contribution can be less than 300,000. Technically, we are talking about you borrowing, not in cash, 2 million to make 80 million. Now, that's in 4 months. You can make yako pamwamba dija 5 million. Eh? Now, ubwere ku office kwanga ndidza kulembe ntchito youth oyamba kumene ndidza kupatsa 500,000, 5 million yomwe udzalandira 10 months koma ukubwera ku ntchito daily. Ukubwera ku ntchito daily and usakundiyandikiraso mmene wayandikiramo ababa chifukwa kunoku tangoyandikirana poti zakhala chonje uli kuneno kwina kwake. Now, if we continue the argument, this youth having wapanga 5 million in September, akulowa so munda, pampu ijandi yawo pagulu, it means loan yaku pampu yatani, yachokako, ndikumpatsa so ma inputs yena, to cultivate the same 5 acres, ndekuti November alinda another jan 5 million. 5 million plus now. So by the end of this year, this youth is likely going to have made in profits. Here, I'm saying labor is your own, because if we were to use the age-old Cobb-Douglas function of production, where production is a function of land, labor, capital, and the technology factored in, they would we relax labor as what? As a cost into this particular element. So we are saying, iweyo pakutapa chaka chino, you can make 10 million of your own, inzoteka. Imene nzako wina wake amene akuyangana ntchito ndi intern kuboma akumpatsa 150,000 as intern kuboma akunyamula zikwama zanu chifukwa intern msanamizanepo sikuti mungapeza kuti trip yakunja sizingatheke ajamba kale komweko ndi yawo maulendo amenewo. So as a country that has fully adopted the tenets of governance, you can see kuti ndatsindika kwambiri pankhani ya chuma. There is a reason. The reason kutsindikira kwambiri pankhani ya chuma ndikunena kuti the foundations of our country as Malawi, as a nation, have not done us well. the chance is in you, the youth, to refocus, redirect. In 1891, when Malawi was declared as a protectorate, with Sir Harry Hamilton Johnston as the first governor, the foundations were politics or governance, religion, education, and trade and commerce. Come you can see what 70 years on, when we were getting self-government rule in 1963, 1961, thereabout, what had laid solid foundations in Malawi was governance, because we were able to change governments, and we continue to do the same from that time until now. Education, we are so good. Christian-led education, we now even have universities run locally. Religion, tukupanga bwino kwambiri. Apart from having the traditional churches, we even have the Pentecostals, mpaka na ndi maina onse amene you can think about. Father, apostle, chanchani, bishops. You see these three things. But since the coming of Fred and John Moyer to set Mandala and entrepreneurship, trade and commerce has largely been neglected to the extent that this is the safe haven for anybody foreign. Chilungamo chakuti amwenye, ma Burundi, ma Nigeria, ma China, akamabwera kuno ku Malawi amauzana kuti musakalimbane ndi ndale akupanga bwino kale, musakalimbane ndi maphunziro akupanga bwino kale, ma university ali nawo, musakalimbane ndi machalichi ali nawo kale okwanira, ma apostle ali nawo, kalimbaneni ndi malonda chifukwa anthuwo ndi ogona zimene zisamazikwanitsa. That's why there is no rich country on earth that can boast about having vibrant religious circles, vibrant politics, or vibrant education, but rather trade and commerce. US, the richest country, we measure it by way of trade and commerce. How much gross domestic product have they made annually? We don't measure US by how many churches they have. So, the whole concept of you, the youth, to mukamachoka kunoku, to recalibrate your minds away from what has let us down for the past nearly 100 years, ever since Malawi was invented as a self-governing entity, to trade and commerce, the well-acknowledged chartered terrain, which has made nations prosper, ever since the days of Adam Smith, the author of Wealth of Nations. You are going in the right direction. No mix of these things. Scroll down. So, Generation Z dilemma. As I've already said, you have many opportunities that can be pursued outside formal employment. However, these opportunities are on a shaky ground. Chifwajani tuzane zona. First thing, human rights. There is a belief you put human rights first. Who told you you eat human rights? Who told you human rights is the way to go? Nchifajage pa university ngalibano titakupanya madesi, it's human rights. Sijojo expressing anga amatero etitosa lower class, you don't feel like it, but the reality is maiko amene achita develop, they had first to deal with basics first and pursue things like human rights later. If you talk about China today, is a giant, number 2 only to US. You will not hear them talking about human rights. You talk about Europe, the foundations, since the Marshallian approach to developing themselves, they never prioritized human rights. It was only somewhere around 1948 when they talk about universal human rights charter and other things, but they even do it with moderation. Mental health. Mental health issues, 10 to 30%, with a gap existing in treatment of the same. What we are talking about is because we are so depressed, so compressed, so suppressed, mental issues have been emerged as another challenge towards advancement of the youth cause, let alone their role in shaping the socio-economic direction of this country. So, unfortunately, these cascade or have ripple effect into even old age. My challenges are many. Scroll down. Now, we continue. Another challenge, economic security. Qualifications are being obtained. However, as I've already said, shrinking job opportunities and high stress levels coming from personal finances, lack of jobs, skyrocketing cost of living take a tall order on the youth. Civic engagement. Most of you are politically engaged and believe that government is doing less than required to address the ills affecting society. Isn't zona zake. That's the general perception among the youth. Koma remember, the ones we elect are only but leaders, not doers of what we are supposed to do. Once we grasp that, Nchifajage Emeritus Professor Brown Chimpamba said, the best contribution one can make is one which makes in his own country. And Robert Chambers, the guru of participatory approaches in development, said, nothing for us without us. Whose reality counts? Your reality counts because you are the most concerned. But it must begin with you to shape the direction. Scroll down. Information overload. This also continues to be another challenge where the more educated, behaved, stressed, and depressed generation is this generation, which is possibly you. And the main reason is that you have spent more time on electronic devices. Dr. Duone, the time I was doing economics, siti maiga ma model atu mu computer, you had to calculate the T, the row, the standard error manually using a calculator. Masiko ano data you say mumachita input into a computer ikutulutsirani and voila, you say you have graduated with a distinction. It was not like that. So moyo ndio fewa. Then because it's technology driven life. Tima tuluka with artificial mindset. Kuti zinthu nzofewa. Tikamachoka timboneka zinthu nzotani? Nzofewa like that. Life is not that simple. Does this, all these challenges I've cited point to a gloomy picture for the Generation Z? I do not know. Scroll down. But understand this. In as much as you could be a victim of intergenerational innate characteristics, let's have a perspective of the three generations that preceded you. Two preceded you, you are the third one. So Generation X, 1965-80, known for their independence, resourcefulness, strong work ethic, often attributing their upbringing and witnessing to the demands of their parents' careers. Generation imene yoyo ndia anthu amene akuchita retire maka panopa ena achoka 10 years ago. But the millennials, 1981-96, ourselves, adaptable and socially cautious with strong emphasis on work-life balance, very important. And they came of age during the rise of internet and social media and were significantly impacted by globalization and economic shifts. Yourselves grew up with smartphones and social media. So much social media. Ndiabwino, of course, nkani zimafala msanga kwambiri. Komanso remember, pamakasuma positives nima negatives. Pankanizo. Making them highly digitally fluent and often described as pragmatic, entrepreneurial, and value flexible and authentic. Now, despite all these varying characteristics among the generations, and Malawi is in the economic situation that at the beginning of the lecture we talk almost hopeless. So, Tivomere, 3 generations have contributed to the hopelessness. Is that the end? It's not the end. There must be a generation that must reverse the party. And it's you. Scroll down. So, kunali kungo yamba chabe kumene kujako. How are you going to reverse? The answer is microfinance. I already said National Economic Empowerment Fund is one of the actors, probably nowadays one of the major actors in the microfinance sector. You need microfinance sector to save you and for you to save the nation. Are you seeing these things? Microfinance must save you to give you the limited resource requirements for you to use them to save the nation. The microfinance sector in Malawi historically dates back to the pre-colonial days. Atamunda amathandiza makolo athu ndizipangizo za ulimi zimene the government ya Dr. Banda took over to provide formalized credit to the agriculture sector through what we used to call Smallholder Agriculture Credit Administration Program, SACA. I mean, in my students, high extension, agribusiness, or even economics, you will know those things about Smallholder Agriculture Credit Administration. It flourished much more in the 1970s and provided subsidized farm inputs to farmers, and they could repay the loans from those inputs after harvesting. While SACA made good progress in those particular years in the 1980s, it nevertheless had an inherent weakness in that it continued to catalyze the non-banking culture in Malawi. Chifangongoleza SACA amakatolera ndalangizi mlimi samakayika ku banki ya boma ya. Amakayika kujati amapatsa alangiza amakatseka mabuku under the Department of Extension as it were. In as much as it contributed to the better off of the farmers. By the way, for the benefit of those not privy to microfinance business, microfinance is that whole business of providing limited resources to the poorer, to the resource constrained. It could be in the form of loan, in the form of soft grants, or even in the form of any other form of assets that can construe as a loan. Not freebies. Tukuimvetsangani, eh? Chifukwa makhala kutayana ura kodiwo akuti microfinance angoyambira microfinance akukamba jani pepani sifa aphunzitsi muzitikhululukira. So we are talking about that provision of limited financial resources. Tikati limited chifukwa jani simungabwere kunifi kudzatenga 1 billion kulibe kusazikatheka. Simungapite kwina kulikonse kukatenga hundreds of millions. Microfinance targets the resource constrained, the poorer, who cannot penetrate the formal finance market like the banks. Right? These are the target of microfinance services. So we are saying, kuti, governments all over the world, governments like in Malawi, have always operated in microfinancial services to target the category ya anthu imene ndani nayi, the resource challenge, the constraint, the marginalized amene wawa. Now, from the academic perspective, students of economics mwina mukozunena kuti kodi aren't these interventionist approaches by government kumapereka ngongole imene ili ntchito ya mabanki? Yes, you are very right. And they could potentially bring distortionary effects on the finance market. Because among other things, government loans are known to be soft, are known to have loose terms as opposed to the generic financial institutions. However, you also ought to understand that governments usually come in when there are imperfections on the market on account of failure of the law of demand and supply to operate as expected. To convert something like that, the ordinary rule of demand and supply is that there shall always be commodities supplied and there shall be corresponding demand for those commodities, meeting only the expected equilibrium levels. that unfortunately in the imperfect world sizichitika. That's why you find in the banking sector there is excessive liquidity. People are not borrowing. You go there, you discover my interest rates are very high, or the general business environment, there is a stagnation in the economy, hence no reason for somebody to go and borrow and suffer the repayment of interest when you cannot sell the goods and the services. So the coming in microfinance NIF, one of the issues is to support the rectification of the market imperfections. Because antosa ugamene sangapite ku bank kudazingo kala, no, they still must be supported so that at least they can have the capital base with which to participate effectively in trading of goods and services. So, as I've already started, the SACA was replaced by the Malawi Finance Company. Chifukwa jani mujanda fotokozera muja, the coming in of the liberalization era, it resulted in opening up of various markets, including the finance market. And the banking sector needed to be supported. The formal sector needed to be supported. Malawi Finance Company metamorphosed from the then SACA to become a quasi-banking institution. Of course, not deposit taking, but lending out. And it opened up from being agriculture dominated to what? To other enterprises that were not agricultural in nature. So MRFC operated until 2004, 2013, but it made a limited impact on the microfinance sector in as far as Malawians are concerned. That's why if you go to literature and read the works of late Professor Ephraim Chirwa, he wrote in 2000 that on account of the liberalization period which we had entered in the mid-80s, on account of IMF World Bank recommendations to open up the macroeconomic framework arena, microfinance institution anajuluka kwambiri to the extent leo lino tikozomagamba in excess of 30-40 plus, just to help the efforts of improving access to microfinance services by the marginalized and ordinarily excluded persons, including the youth. Now, from this point onwards, when I talk about marginalized, ordinarily excluded, remember I've already laid the background that the youth largely fall into this category. Scroll down. So, strides in youth empowerment took a noticeable direction in 2005, when the then President Professor Bingu wa Mutharika came up with the Malawi Rural Enterprise Development Fund, MADEF, that largely prioritized the rural sector. Why the rural sector? As I've already said, the formal banking sector was concentrated and was a privy of the urban setup. So, that's why MADEF was set. And a number of projects were set up. But however, others have acknowledged that MADEF did not do much to penetrate the wall that had shielded the youth from being an integral element of the microfinance sector. Exit being 2012, through death came the PP government, the People's Party government, under Dr. Joyce Banda. It made some significant efforts to recover the youth from the lost abyss. And it came up with what used to be called Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Nchifajage mutakuona nthawi imene kuna achuka kwambiri mayouth kupita kunja ukagwira ntchito, mayouth kulandira tizipangizo tama skills, mabekale ndi zina zotero, all in an effort to make the youth access the financial services for their own economic development. Exit MADEF, there came now MEDEF in 2014, Malawi Enterprise Development Fund. Now, the main approach to this one was to merge the two again, YEDEF and MADEF, and come up with MEDEF, Malawi Enterprise Development Fund. This was under Professor Peter wa Mutharika as the president. Scroll down. So the whole purpose of MEDEF was now to bring all the microfinance services bankrolled by government into one house for purposes of avoiding ambiguity. Because the whole question was, yedefu ndiyama youth, ndekuti kumadefu sankatenge. You see all those type of things, eh? Who is the youth? What constitutes the youth? So to solve that dilemma, all these things were housed into one house. And then 2020 it was called MEDEF. In 2020, entered the new government, the TOS Alliance government, led by the president, Dr. Lazarus Makathi Chakwera. Rebranding took place to come up with the National Economic Empowerment Fund. So, in the remaining half of the presentation, I dwell on the National Economic Empowerment Fund. Chifukwa, this far, we were building a cause for why microfinance services, why government must run microfinance services, which microfinance efforts has the government overtaken in our 64-year history, and the transitions and the approaches that have taken place. Scroll down. So, let me reiterate this point. Kuti, microfinance services, especially run by government, to hammer the point home, specifically seek to address the following aspects. Number one, as I've already said, to address market failure issues. Policy failure. When what has been said as the policy framework and the actors are allowed to play and sisi kugwira management begezekera, we call that policy failure. So the first aspect of why NIF and predecessor institutions were put in place is to address that market failure, which I've already said, the access to financial resources by the excluded, particularly the youth, has to be addressed decisively. Number two, promoting financial inclusion. Deliberate efforts. We are in digital era. Masiku anowa, wina wage lightly said, kuti atadzuka anthu ngati achina Julius Caesar atovutika kwambiri chifukwa almost everything is digital. Kwa uzuti Caesar, you are the mighty Caesar, phone yanu ndi avutika kwambiri. They would rather send somebody per horse akapereke utenga ku Hebron ndi Judea kuti zimwele uzachibwana sitifuna ya. You see those type of things, eh? Yeah, so promoting financial inclusion in this digital era when it's unavoidable in the digital bus. Scroll down. And arguments of improving government service delivery efficiency. So key sectors zimene boma limadalirapo for economic growth, for delivery of social services, must have adequate actors in there, and these actors must have resources. That's why kwa amene mwakhala mukutsatira kwambiri nkhani ya NIF, agriculture being a priority sector is enjoying unprecedented resource provision by government so that it catalyzes this important sector so that the economic growth and social development is realized. Scroll down. Now, what is the vision for NIF? NIF, ndibwelezeso, is the National Economic Empowerment Fund, NEEF. Its vision, therefore, building on the background I've given, the reasons why government looks at it as one of the panaceas for transformed approach to economic growth and development, seeks to be an all-inclusive microfinance institution in Malawi, a preferred and an all-inclusive microfinance institution. Inuyo mukamachoka kuno ku college, muzingodziwa kuti kunja kuno kuli NIF. You would opt for NIF and you would be assisted by NIF. That's what we call being a preferred and an all-inclusive. Its mission to economically, not socially, not politically, not whatever, but economically empower ordinary and underserved Malawians. In fact, ifeyo akale tikamapita ku secondary school mena kukhonza English. Nde kukhonza English iko it meant kuti timachita study language what we used to call maclose. I don't know kalipo masiku ano amene mula languages literature. to economically empower ordinary and underserved Malawians, particularly women, youth, and persons with disability through the provision of quality, affordable, sustainable microfinance services. To economically empower ordinary and underserved Malawians. That's the main clause. What type of clause? Adjective clause. Qualifying the noun ordinary and underserved Malawians. So, ali basukulu imene tikachita zimenezo mulibe mule iya primary tikapanga izi primary Chasa college kunali zina zovutirapo. Yeah, so nkhani ndi imene yoyo. The gist of the matter is to economically empower who? The ordinary and underserved. Zikuveka nkhani imene. So the message, key take homes, mukamachoka pano pa college, mukamapita kunjaku kwa amene mukumaliza posedwa apa. Ngakhale amene somwina simnamalize tikambirana kutsogoloko. This fund is set to economically empower you, because majority of you, the youth, are the ordinary and underserved. Wananchi. Anthu wamba tizikamba zone. The fund is for you. Scroll down. So, the operational philosophy, credibility of the borrowers. Nchifage mmamva anthu akulira kuti aya nifi akuvuta akufuna izi. Credibility. Credible. Likadakhala thumba longopereka tikadati ndalamazi zikhale mukangotuluka pa gate pali esazira nimu azitenga. Credibility. Siveka zimeze? Olopa college ngati pano ukamahopera munthu akamavuta ali credible. Zimveka zimeze? Bwerani somawa. Kutumiza WhatsApp osakuyankha. Kulemba ina madzulo blue tick. Alijani? Koma kungoti hi akuthamangira ndi hi how are you? Prioritization of medium enterprises, because medium enterprises are catalysts for job creation. Because they get notable amounts of resources, they produce notable amounts of goods and services, and therefore they need notable amounts of employees in their institutions. So, my youth in Gadinu, if you want to venture straight into mediums, I know what to Gufuna and Aruana. I would remember Pangati my hand plows, can you tractors? When I'm damn basi, see Nusu. I think I get it. Yeah. So those are medium scale enterprises because they have the potential to create what? More jobs. Entrenchment of entrepreneurial skills in the borrowers by encouraging cooperatives. Panopa we are going en masse in terms of promoting enterprise. What is the money kuti ngongoleza athu za micro irrigation za ulimantirira tayamba ndi anthu 50 to 100, not anthu awiri atatu or 10, 50 to 100, because we believe they are taking a form of cooperatives at the earliest stage possible, so that kutsogolo kuti kamapita with other value addition processes with those groups which have laid a solid foundation in as far as production base is concerned. Entrenchment of entrepreneurial skills in the borrowers, support partnership. We believe in partnership. Ndikamba kutsogoloku, Luana ndi NIF, we are in partnership. Mumodzi muli mphamvu. Chifukwa mwenye, business ya mwenye singafe, they believe in partnership. Singafe, osati ife uoneke doloweka. Kulibeko zimenezo. So we are encouraging the same spirit. Finally, diversification of product base, to ensure that the fund accommodates entrepreneurs from diverse sectors of the socio-economic fabric. Tugamba kuti jani. Every time timakhala pansi ndikuona what is going wrong and what is going right. That's why we continuously come up with new products. On a lighter note, the best team in the world, Real Madrid, they continuously and routinely look at all the sections of the team. Where did we go wrong and right? The whole season open to look at trophy they have the Super Cup, they have the what clubs cup. They have those two. koma sawerengere iwo pamene ena atatenga zimene zija anthu sagona mtauni. Yeah. So financial inclusion, which I've been talking about, is a whole business of making available to individuals and businesses useful and affordable financial products and services that meet their needs, and these are availed in a responsible and sustainable manner. So, when we talk about need for advancing financial inclusion, we mean about that, to make available those financial services to you. What is the starting point? This public lecture, to make those services known to you. After making them known, to make them available to you. Scroll down. So, tikakamba mitundu ya ngongole imene ili ku NIF, mutakuona kuli mitundu yonse ya ngongole yankwananguwo muleke na achene. Dress according to jani? To size. Mbuyo mkunali oyimba wina akiti Matevison Matafale. Amene njibo yankwananguwo muleke ni achene. Zonena zake ndi nzeru zake. Mwana wa Mlungu. Kango wa Yuda. So, tili ndizvenezi, ngongole za Chinyamata youth enterprise, strictly for you, the youths, to go into entrepreneurship, starting with as low as 1 million to as much as 60 million. Those are the terms, 24 months, the repayment period. Yeah. So if you are a group, that's that. If you are individual, 5 million to 30 million, then my interest rate. So you can see there is a whole range of loan products. A whole range of loan products. Zimene tsiku loti tifotokoze tikhoza kukhala nalo tsiku. Kwa iwo tsopano amene atiitana mwapadera-dera. Iyi ndi evangelism, umalalikira kwa onse kutembenuka kuzoyipa. Koma kwa amene avomera Khristu mbuyeyo amakuitana ni mwapadera, tichimvetse chinthuchi nchiyani. So kwa iwo amene aja ndeti zakamba zambiri. Tumvala mene kwete? Yeah. So you look at all those Vulcan products for the poorest of the poor, amene alibe collateral, sanga kwanitse kupeza collateral. Actually, some of the students are in that Vulcan category. You know that, eh? Livestock, especially for here, Bunda, farm input loan, these are for any fed production. Agribusiness loan, these are for agriculture-related enterprises. Kamuzifuna muzitenga mazira pena nkwachulukitsa nkukata itsa kwina zituka zimenezo. Livestock production, strictly to produce livestock. If you are maisaza amene matinga kuno livestock, imati ani makosa amene animal science. Mufuna mujoge kuno mukayambire tu straight kumaweta mbuzi kumakhala nazo 1000 2000 noka tipeze. Osera animal science nkumakaphunzitsa chijewa padzuka. Micro irrigation is jatafotokoza zija. I mean, you already know much about irrigated agriculture and you just want a push. Those are the things we're talking about. Farm produce, I mean, mufuna muzigula mbeu kumaka gulitsa kwina, you have reliable markets. Sugarcane production cooperative. Micro industry, very important. I mean, mapuzira kuno agriculture engineering yanu, mapuzira how to make a juice presser, mufuna kuti mukambe factory yanu yoponda juice. Micro industry, that's what we're talking about, those things. Scroll down. Yeah, so micro leasing, general trading, just other trading, partnership loans, loans. I mean, our partnership, these are loans, is many timapelega on agreement. Mwachitsanzo, nifi ndi Luwana akozugwirizana. Kuti ana awawanda achoka ku Luwana, afuna utsekula factory, garanta akhala Luwana. Tumvale mepet? Yeah, so because of that, apatseni ngongole 10 million to kamba ndiye partnership loan imene zumveka iti. Yeah, koma mukabwera as a group yochokera pabunda noka, you'll be given the other products. Koma if Luwana says anifi apatseni awa, we provide what we call limited guarantorship. Mwachitsanzo zavuta 50% sana bweze tidzabweza ndifi. That's partnership loan. Osati partnership ndi kuti Luwana kulemba kalata upita ni kunifi hayi timvetsetsepo apa. Koma that guarantorship should be there. So, What are the pillars of the financial inclusion concept which we have embraced and seek to champion among the youth, you inclusive? Number one, we look at affordability of our loans. The loans must be affordable. They must be available either in a group lending model, especially because the poor, madziwa chisisi cha osauka, amadalira mphamvu za pagulu. Kadzona anthu akuyenda kagulu, they are the poor. Yeah, it could be, as you are saying, Yaro, because you know why? The poor are vulnerable. They are makhala pagulu for protection. Yeah, so that's the whole concept of group lending. To the poor, mukhale kagulu, to cushion each other. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. Low-priced loans, especially by way of our pricing, the interest rates are low. Loan repayment method, we use the reducing balance method. Interest rate is low, we use the reduced balance method. Kuti ululua interest uzikhala uchepela. Provided closest to the clients, as there is a very wide branch network, nchifaikada kutsekulira ni branch pa mitundu. Madziwa zibeso. Branch yani fili pa mitundu pomwepa. Yeah. Then agriculture inputs, which are taken in the form so that we cushion cash scarcity, because the government sima kandi ndalama nthawi zonse. So what do? We provide farm inputs so that at least you are on time in as far as the agriculture is concerned. Sustainability. The clients are offered training before we get the loans. And when ambuyo mamanyozeta amapweketsa kuti ayi training imutitaitsa nthawi ifeyo ndifakuluwana tili ndi degree in agribusiness ngopanga 6 months munthu wasowa town sakuoneka. Nkhani business ndi ina, right? Theory ndi ina, practical so ndi yani? Ndi ina. Responsibility. Prohibited enterprises are not allowed. Simungabwere kunifi kuti niyo mutenge ngongole muzigulitsa chamba. Yeah. Zithu zimene boma silivomera singakupatse. Olo muziwo chamakala, yeah. Zithu zimenezo. Scroll down. So, as NIF, what is the success story of NIF? If you look at my figures, they will paint a picture to an institution that has decisively moved forward to increasing financial inclusion, especially among the marginalized, the vulnerable, the youth inclusive. So, mu 16 years, 2005 to 2020, when we had MEDEF, MADEF, and YEDEF, you see the results compare favorably in the direction of NIF on what has been done just in 4 years. 4 years is just 25% of that tenure. And yet you can see as much as over 230 billion disbursed on the road to 1 trillion by the end of 8 years. Nearly 260,000 clients reached out, which is 3 times as much as many that were reached in 16 years. An average on size of nearly 1 million. 1.2 billion Malawi kwacha available on average in each and every constituency in this country. That's on average. With a collection rate of 76%, kodi mataipa bwanji. Anaina tu katu mataipa ni chitu cha kugula ama mataipa zao zao. Inteni. Yeah, we are at 76%. At the best, timafika 82-83%, especially panopa mene alima kukolola ama bweza kwambiri. Ndiye we are buoyed by the seasonality. So moti mwina tikamakomana chakumapeto kwa chakako chikhozo khatili chama 80% about. So we strive to reach 95%. Government injection 166 billion. You can see from as low as 15 billion that was pumped in the past 16 years up to 2020 to as much as 166 billion. I don't know, that is how much? 10 times, over 10 times as much. 120 outlets countrywide as opposed to only 14 outlets that were there in 2020. And we seek to hit 300 outlets. You can ask justification to Funaboma figure 2030. Every constituency in Malawi must have their own NIF loan office. urban areas ndi azikhala even 4 or 5 in a constituency, because we want to take care of the population density issues. 1,200 staff. Kodi amene mwabwera kumugwira ntchito kunifi mnali pa Luwana ndi angati ayimirirana amene tinakulemba ni kunifi. Amene mwabwera mnali yeah, so amenewa chifukwa mwina mukhozo maona ngati Luwana imna yamba ndinu awa analipo maona amenewa ali kwathuku amenewa. So ma ancestors yanu amene mwafuse kuti zimayenda bwanji nthawi yanu koma inaso mwina nkuteka anakusiyani pompa. So sukulu yawo inali yophweka. Yeah, age limit tinaonjezera mbuyo mwanthu amatenga ngongole up to 60 years panopa tinafix up to 75 years. The idea is tichite catalyze anthu ambiri, incentivize amene they are above 60, they should still be running around kuti azipereka mwayi kwa anyamata. Now, when we talk about equity issues, I know mulanzanga muno, gender studies, even economics, we talk about equity issues. What we have done is to ensure equitable distribution of the national cake. Tidaswa isonifija in 2 zones, so that each and every part of the country kupite ngongole zanifi. One weakness about previous versions of the fund, MADEF, MEDEF, YEDEF, was selective approach, whereby nima governments had to Malawi kunama kandi inclination. When you talk about inclination, is where the majority of the population favor that particular government or politicians and things of that nature. So in order to block that those barriers, we have segmented NIF in 2 zones. Some are smaller zones, some are bigger zones. The target is in every zone, in every constituency, ngongoleza NIF zikale zitafika. So that's why you can see that we have disbursed country-wide. Of course, the element of equity still applies, because where there are more people, their share is also bound to be what? To be more as compared to where there are fewer people. The bottom line is, aliyesa atengeko regardless of where they are and how they are. So those are the proportions, and more encouraging is that kunifi, the biggest population category imene yatenga ngongole kunifi are the youth. They account for 96,000 of the 255,000 clients amene atenga ngongole kunifi, while men is everybody 35 years and above, account for the smallest number of beneficiaries, 65,000, and women are in between at women are the biggest, 96,000, youth 93,000. The disturbing factor, because the capacity of the youth to access and absorb the loans is much lower, they account for the smallest proportion in terms of monetary value of the resources that NIF has given out. That's the depressing point. So you can see there the youth have only gotten 56 billion, while women have taken 74 billion, and men have enjoyed a whooping 101 billion of those resources given out to NIF. Scroll down. We have also taken care of geographical patterns, the urban versus the rural, urban accounting for 27% and rural accounting for 73%, with a decisive policy approach to increase the urban share to 40%, because we know that poverty is nowadays increasingly taking the urban dimension, the urban outlook, owing to many youths moving from the rural areas to the urban areas in search of greener pasture. Scroll down. So, repayment. As I already said, anyway, the best repaying, there are some zones that are doing extremely well in terms of repayment. For example, tikoza kujita acknowledge kudos to the following. Lower Shile, which is Chikwawa and Nsanje, is at 80-something% for men, and also doing well for the youth, 81%. The poorest performer is the Lilongwe zone. So if you see Lilongwe zone, 65%, 64%, 68%, inuyo ngati kunoku it's South Lilongwe. Ndikumene kuli 68% in terms of men, and the youth is something around 78%. Country-wide, we can do well in terms of improving the collections to the higher levels of 80%, which we want, up to 90%, as it were. So the bottom line is it varies from region to region. Ma factors iso amasiyana. Kuina because of the economy. Like for example, madilanga di balaka ndi kuina kuli drought. Anthu ambiri amavutika kuti abweze ngongole. Koma because now we are going into winter cropping, we believe kuti iyapatsaka chance kambiri kuti they should be able to pick up the pace. Scroll down. So, impact of NIF. Has NIF made any notable impact on the country's socio-economic arena? Number one, of late, looking at the past 2 seasons, NIF has made an indelible mark in as far as the productivity of the country is concerned. In 2024-25 cropping season, NIF is projected to have contributed 1/3 of the grain you are going to be seeing, courtesy of the NIF loans. 1/3 of the grain. It's 1.1 million metric tons out of the projected 2.9 million metric tons is Benedict Bange harvest. 1/3 of the tobacco production was financed by NIF. So for the 1/3 of the production is on account of NIF clients. So you can see both in terms of food self-sufficiency and security as well as forex earnings, NIF is doing quite a commendable job. Number two, with the revamping of the agriculture sector by prioritizing irrigated agriculture, NIF is decisively promoting more friendly agricultural practices that are more attractive to the youth. Chifati uzane zona, inuyo simunga choke pano kumakatunga madzi mkeni kumathirira. But you would rather use the solar pumps and whatever. So that's why itikunena kuti mukatuluka komo ndilotsekuka kwambiri kuti mukayuze ma opportunities amene. NIF is the main vehicle for employment because over 92,000 youths amene apatsidwa malonzi. You can imagine mwezi akutani if they had not gotten those loans. Situkamba ma youth oti atenga ngongole ndi ali kunchito kwina kwake kapena kuphunzitsa. These are youths that are solely relying on those loans to make their livelihoods. It's probably the biggest microfinance institution in as far as youth coverage in this country is concerned. Ma MFIA na amakana ma youth. Ayi mulinchani, ayi ndinoyenda osakhazikika koma ife timati bwerani tiona kuti tichita bwanji kuti tikhale tichite pamodzi. NIF has also catalyzed the confidence in the ability of the public service to render private sector service like over 80% collection rate simasewera company ya boma because everybody would ordinarily think that being a government body is business as usual. Zona zaget. NIF has also fostered promotion of strategic partnerships. Panopa, we are one of the institutions in many values partnership kwambiri. Chifukwa we want to set in a culture yonena kuti mutu umodzi suseza denga nzeru zaika anavika sima madzi mutu sungayende alone. If you want to go far, you must travel with others, the partnership. So chifukwa with Luana here, we have had partnerships. Ambiri adzachirapo attachment internship and tikufuna tikokere kuina partnership imene yoyo. We enjoy working with TVETA insurance companies to cushion our clients from adverse effects of weather and other perils in as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. The commercial other service providers, TNM, Airtel, and so forth. Scroll down. Market relevant policies. NIF is one institution imene moves with time. Even here, when we listen to something captivating, we take it to shape our policy discourse. Because we believe we can't just say, timadziwa zonse ayi. Committed funding by the shareholder Mujatafu Kozela, this government has been very committed kunchito ya NIF. Amayesetsa ndalama zikhalepo, ngati ndalama palibe atichite link to other service providers, ngati mafamu inputs ati makambaja panopa fertilizer amene tikugawa ndi wa smallholder farmer fertilizer revolving fund. Alimi akadzabweza mu August fertilizer alipira. You can see that's a good deal, Increased awareness about lethal operations. Iyi ndi fund imene yaenda m'masukulu yaenda paliponse aggressively. Chifukwa even kuno tafika kuti anthu mudziwe za chimenechi. Development and reinforcement of partnerships, muchalafotokozera kale, scroll down. Kodi upita kuti ubwereratu. Yeah. Now, in the spirit of fostering the partnerships, what are the potential partnership areas ndi Luwana kumene tabwera? Chifukwa mati chuluke ngwanjuji umanene imene yakuluma. Kodi inu yozokukhudzani ndi ziti patatha zonsezi? Mimwa imene ilipo ndi iti? Inuyo ndi NIF ngati Luwana ndi ma related or affiliated institutions. Number 1, we are considering, I'm using my words carefully. Chifukwa as a veterinary policy developer, timakhala ndi mawu ogwitsa ntchito pa occasion iliyonse. So what do I mean? We are considering. Ndekuti it's not fine. Ndekuti pali zimene tikuziunika. We are considering to partner with the university's crop science and applied sciences department to collaborate with us in the production of seed for NIF farm input loan and irrigation loans. Amene kunjaku mmango khala simudziwa zimene zili kunjaku, seed kunjaku yavuta kwambiri. We don't have seed in this country. Ngati ilipo ndi patches of seed here and there. Zikumveka zimene? Yeah, so why can't we use Luwana? Chifukwa we are considering mungakwanitsenuyo kulima seed kuti ma farmers mu November December akamafuna ma seeds for the farm input loan programs idzakhale limo mdziko muno, because the pace which we have taken, we risk using recycled seed and in the process affecting the productivity of our cherished crops, maize inclusive. Number 2, we are considering utilizing the agriculture engineering faculty and its students of Luwana to manufacture simple plants and equipment to be taken by NIF smallholder farmers. I do not know ngati faculty engineering alimo muno. Do we have the capacity to manufacture simple handheld plows? Ma farmers athu ayambe kumagula zimene zizi mu December la. Now, that's why, remember, that's what I said at the beginning. Kuti, you are the generation that can make a difference. It's easy, timapulawo ititi, akupaka ni machina kwa njewa. And they are taking all the money, ndikugula forex, ndikutumiza kwao. Ifeyo, tikungo khalabe chonchi. So, take seriousness in whatever I'm proposing here. Even in nkhani ya seed. Because panopa ngati seed tu makatenga ku Zambia as a country. Something terribly wrong with us. Ndidziko limene somebody said, even if mutatenga Barack Obama or Trump, situmvuta kwambiri, because mindset ndiyotani. We are considering provision of finance to potential entrepreneurs that graduate from Luwana with little guarantorship by the university, because it requires little what? Guarantorship. Zinafotokoza zija. Is also faculty because we panga payoka or as a university. You understand that, eh? Yeah. So that's why we are considering. We are also considering provision of only job training opportunities for students from the university. I think ilamba kali tukambaza ma attachment aja, ma internship tikumapeleka kwambiri zimene zizi. So we want to excel, to extend that more to other faculties, mwachitsanzo ngati animal science, because we want to make the livestock loans more vibrant than ever before, and that provides opportunities for anzathu animal science. Muzikaphunzitsa alimi mawetedwe a mbuzi, makamidwe a mkaka wa ng'ombe, mosaononga bere la ng'ombe, zinthu zimene zonso. Alimo koma animal science kapena ambiri mmaithawa. Yeah, so that's what we are talking about. That's what we are talking about. Moti Mr. Mweta, take note. Our director, Dr. Tioni. Those who live college mati distinction, the strong credit. Masiwa no mati jani zituzonos. Yeah, those who are going to live with distinction, tipaten tikambe now this particular aspect. Don't send it to us people who read sparingly. Yeah, so we are looking at those type of things. We are also looking at another option to assist and work with Luana with research on new channels for service and products delivery. Mujatafuta kozera jama products ena ndone kuti we must work together to jointly come up with that particular product. Mwachitsanzo product ile meti kuifuna kwambiri is locally made manure. I think in Dazatu Ajala many, is it agronomy or crop science or soil science, something like that in general. So we are looking at those, even if in the potential to make local manure, because the fact of the matter is, I was telling my farmers katimwa wiki mundimanena kuti all this analogy to say kuti wakuti adzatsitsa mtengo wa fertilizer, forget about it. Those are bedtime stories. Why? You don't reduce price ya chinthu chochoka kwina kwake sizimatheka sichako. We can only have lower fertilizer prices if we start manufacturing locally. You understand that? Now, who shall manufacture that? It's the Luana, where we have invested our intelligentsia in issues to do with the crop science, livestock science, soil science, and what have you. That and only that time are we going to experience lower prices of farm inputs. So that's why research let's partner with NIF, the relevant department at Peze, digital collaborate, then we can promote those type of researches. Does Generation Z have a chance to convert vision into reality? Recall what I discussed at the beginning in terms of the characteristics of the three generations, you inclusive, that have lived in independent Malawi. And what we are saying that the very fact that you are exposed and you enjoy the benefits of the digital era, easy access to information, heavy mechanization, and the other aspects, fluidity, cross-pollination of ideas with ease, we are saying that you are the most eligible candidate to reshape the socioeconomic direction that our country has taken. However, transforming your vision into a venture is so dynamic, challenging, and yet rewarding. Understand these words. Dynamic, it means you must always live with the changing times. Challenging, nothing is easy. But in the final analysis, rewarding. Mamillionaire aminatili na wambili yena maiko akunjawa ndi my young people. They have taken risks. They have chanced on whatever has worked for them. It requires strategic planning, market understanding, brand building, and resilience. And by taking deliberate steps to plan your entrepreneurial journey and staying focused on your long-term goals, you can successfully navigate the ups and downs of business ownership. Sizikakhala zophweka koma zikatheka. Khana ikulu ndi imeneyo. Sizikakhala zophweka koma zikatani? Zikatheka. Scroll down. So while these opportunities may be available to the youth, note that the most successful entrepreneurs don't just wait for opportunities to come to them, but they actively lili pafupi kumaliza. Nandibera nthawi malo moyamba tukulo kutamba tufilimu. Don't just wait for opportunities to come to them, but actively create opportunities. Zumveka zimeze? Can we be creators? Not those towing the line, conforming and being mere consumers of what others have already developed. We must be creators. We must solve real-world problems and lead with passion and purpose. And as we continue to craft entrepreneurial path, let's keep our vision at the forefront of our journey and let it guide towards success. Scroll down. So in conclusion, as I conclude, the country continues, as I've already said, to experience low economic growth rate and high levels of poverty, stagnating to being the fourth poorest country in the world. Ndimanena kwina kwake kuti reality ndionena kuti the pace imene tatengayi is a heavy challenge to our sovereignty. Muzidziwa zimenezo? The more the poverty increases, the lesser you stamp authority on your sovereignty. Munthu wopempha alibe mawu amauzidwa olo munthu akuzuza ndikupatsani mawu ndalamayo koma malo mogona ku chipinda kagoneni pa sitting room. Nyumba yako kagoneni pa sitting room. Ukana? Zumveka zimenezo? Mkasa adayimba kuti amakuza usadabuka pa chitedze ulibe chani? This is exactly what we are going through. So many people dictating terms for us. The recent postponement of the ECF is largely on account because we are poor, we can't, we try to stand for our values. You understand that? If we were saying, it would have continued. But is that the path we want to sustain as a country? Bowing down to everything on account of poverty, we must rise up and challenge the discourse. Unemployment levels to continue to remain high, as I've already said, especially among the youth. The job market cannot absorb you all. It's a reality. Mukapita kunjaku ndi maganizo oti mukadikira kulembedwa ntchito wena mukakhala 10 20 years. Now mutuluka muli 25 muyikepo 10 35 zomveka zimene ndikuti zekhazi tuzotani zochedwa kwambiri. However, there are financial services from NIF to give you a relief so that you can venture into entrepreneurship. And despite the pressures of information flows and frustrations that you are already familiar with, we should always have hope that come 2063, Malawi shall remain or shall have achieved the enviable status of a prospering nation, enjoying increased agricultural productivity and commercialization, urbanized country, as well as industrialized one. So we must take cognizance of the fact that no future for the youth without their active participation, without sacrifice, without being determined. And an inclusively wealthy and self-reliant Malawi for all is possible. And NIF is one of those key catalysts for such a vision. I thank you so much for listening.
Wow, where do I start from? First of all, let us apologize for the mic. I hope that, I know that he was audible enough and that at the back we were able to hear and also read through the lecture. It's really been an exciting session for me, learning all the things that from experience to practice to success. So overall, this has been. Yeah, so at this point, let me not take your shine because this is the meeting that you are here to learn from the CEO and others here at NIF. I want to verify that our mobile mic is working so that we don't have to be moving around much in terms of getting the questions. So thank you very much, the CEO, Mr. Njetseni, for taking us through a very inspiring public lecture. we have really heard a lot, but most important of all is the conclusion or the statement that he has said towards the end. It will not be possible if you're not going to move. It will not be possible if you're not going to be proactive. It will also not be possible if you don't get yourself out there. It's going to be dynamic, challenging, but at the end of the day, it will be worth it if you go for it. So let me invite questions at this hour, as we are already behind. I'll be taking 5 hands and then give the opportunity to the CEO to respond. Be straight to the question. Please don't explain the things that he has already explained. Please also don't give a lot of examples, because we know you have learned a lot in your classes. So just go straight to the question, and then we'll give time, because if we spend so much time in explaining the things that we want to explain, that we have learned, to showcase that we are learned, esteemed scholars, then we might reduce time for questions. So I don't know who is helping us with the mobile mic. Okay, so there is the mic that is wired, but it's long enough. So we hope that it will be able to get through across all. If they speak from there, can we all hear? Or it's only going to be, okay. All right, let me have hands. So I see 2 hands. I'll start with a gentleman in white, and then a lady, and then the one raising in t-shirt at the back, and then I have 2 hands here. So that's 5 hands. So let me start with... You
should encourage them to introduce themselves before they ask the question. So okay. From who asked.
So you will bear with us. We are live on Zodiac and other media platforms, MBC, and the Facebook page, NIF. So to make sure that we reach out to the audience that is here as well as online, we'll have to be moving 2 mics for all of us to follow the discussion. Again, please introduce yourself, your name, and probably the program that you're studying if you're a student, or the faculty that you represent if you're a faculty member. Thank you very much. Let me hand over to the first gentleman. Over to you.
Okay, great. I'm Uchi Sidila Muntari. Of course, I'm in 4th year, pursuing Bachelor's of Science in Gender and Development. Mine is just a little, I think, follow-up or a question. Just a few months, we had a public lecture with the Minister of Agriculture, of which there was a question that was lodged during the midst of the lecture. The question was targeting on how you disperse the funds as in line to, in terms of the production of the livestock. Okay. Of course,
we apologize for that. Can you be loud enough? Can you emulate what the CEO was doing? CEO was speaking and people were able to hear. Please raise your voice.
Okay, great. My target is on the production of the livestock. To say, in terms of this disbursement of the funds have got, I think, a limited period that someone has to repay. So if you are looking at the livestock in Malawi, like if you are producing like the cattle and the like, they are long or lifetime, or you can say a long time production, of which if we are into like the loans that they were stated there, I've not seen a long period that maybe someone, if has accessed the loan, is able to at least access to the line of livestock. What are you doing as the NIF to accommodate those who are trying to pursue livestock production, like if you are looking at the cattle production and the like?
Thank you very much. Can you pass on the mic? Yes, the lady in white. So maybe to also move it fast in terms of us being able to hear, if I pointed you, can you just make your way on the aisles and then you can walk down and try to ask the questions from here for the benefit of everyone. So if you know you were pointed, please just quickly find your way on the aisles. After the ha, then we'll go around. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Rejoice Mpinganjira. I'm not a student here. I learn at UNIMA, third year, doing economics. I have 3 questions, and I'll be straight. How are you balancing the financial inclusion and financial sustainability? Because we're talking about lending to the Gen Z, as the theme suggests. So how are you balancing the financial inclusion and sustainability? Because this is a high-risk lending. How are you balancing that? The second question is, what metrics does NIF use apart from the measure of success of funds disbursement figures? What else do you use as the metrics to measure how much you are progressing, whether it be business growth or long-term impact? Do you use those metrics? And the last question is, we know that Gen Z is more comfortable with technology. So how is NIF leveraging digital platforms or mobile technology to engage the Gen Z more effectively? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next hand was at the back. If we can send it back this side. The next part, yeah. Can we have somebody assist moving it on this side? So the ones that have raised their hands this side, can you just make yourself available in the aisle so that the next person is able to speak easily? Yeah, go ahead, you can speak from there.
Okay, I'm about to tackle on that question. That may be somehow attacking that side. I'm about to. Okay, I'm Leston Bewe. Leston Bewe, studying agribusiness management in my year 2. So my question is, we've been discussing about agriculture as the pillar that is contributing much to the Malawi's economy. But then we are talking about GDP contribution in particular, of course. So, but when we look at it closely, the field is now becoming more sensitive to adventure on it and to invest in. So, when we are discussing about this, how is it insensitive? I'm talking about those environmental constraints. For example, drought. So, my question is, how are you dealing with your clients that are maybe being affected with these environmental constraints as drought? And what are your percentage efforts to the expensive sustainable measures when we talk of the pumps, as you mentioned? I've never seen that those records of you, like how you've been dealing with those people that are being affected. And I've never seen you projecting those records. How have you been tackling on those?
Thank you very much. Thank you. The next person. So they are asking that you come closer for the audience also online. Stand where he is standing, and then at least face this direction so that we are also able to interact with our colleagues who are online. So the next person, please come, stand closer and then face this side. Yeah, go ahead, introduce yourself.
My name is Ruben Kajingwe. I'm doing agricultural enterprise development and microfinance. Okay, so I was saying that my name is Ruben Kajingwe, and I'm doing agricultural enterprise development and microfinance. My question is on, we understand that NIF is one of the leading microfinance institutions here in Malawi as far as microfinance sector is concerned. And we understand that we are in a technological world where many things are turning digital. What steps are you taking as NIF to turn your loan products into digital for easy application and approval so that they can be easily accessed by many Malawians to increase the outreach? And if any, do you have any loan product that is fully or partially digitalized? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we have the next person? Yes, can we come closer and ask the question? So after this, I will hand it over to the CEO to respond. Then we'll get another round of questions. Come closer. Yes, introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Cleveron Busy, a fourth-year student, second semester, pursuing Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness Management. I have two questions. The first one is, I want to know the collaboration the Office of NIF has with the regulatory bodies. For example, of Malawi Bureau of Standard, because these have enabling environment, they have the authority to enable individuals doing innovation like production of sugar to venture into the protected market like the one I've said of sugar. As you can see that there is high price of... Okay. The second question is about the disbursement of credit. I have chatted with a lot of the beneficiaries of NIF. They have said that whenever they apply the loan, it takes time for them to receive those loans. So they have said that speed is really necessary for development. How does their office pursue their responsibilities to achieve with the time of developing the NIF credits?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me now invite the CEO to respond to these questions. Then we'll take another round of questions so that we can see how far we're going to end the day.
Thank you very much. There are a number of questions which I want to tackle. Regarding Uchizi's question on the livestock loans, because his concern is my livestock ngati ng'ombe amatenga nthawi ng'ombe kuti ibereke mwina chaka chathunthu zaka ziwiri kumapita uko ndiye munthu watenga ngongole ku NIF ng'ombe si kubereka msanga. What we do for livestock loans, tili ndi makatigole. Pali ngongole zina zimene you can see the loan tenure spans from up to, as you see, you can even get a loan for a day. Kubweza mawa nzoteka. But the maximum is 2 years ya livestock. So we know kuti 2 years ziko zokhala kuti ng'ombe zija zatani zaswa bwino. Koma, remember one thing, chimene timachita ndichi. Timenela inuyo, when you are getting the loan, mmatiuza the duration imene mutenge musanayambe kubweza. So we agree on that. So machitsanzo ambuzi, akhozunena kuti ndiyamba kubweza after 6 months. Pamene wang'ombe kuduse ndiyamba kubweza after 9 months. Are you seeing these things? So it varies depending on the enterprise, ndi ma risks associated. Koma dziwani kuti, the longer it takes for you to start repaying a loan, the much higher you accumulate by way of interest repayments. Because using the reduced balance method, it charges the outstanding principal. Now, if the OR principal remains long for 9 months, and tampered with by way of repayment, interest jema zakhala yambiri. So you should understand also, that's why anzatu our faculty, is it enterprises and whatever, would understand better what I'm saying. It's not always good for you to take a loan, long maturity period, because you now suffer kumbalia interest, which accumulates on account of the unserviced interest repayment as a result of the untampered principal. There is that flexibility. Joyce from UNIMA asked the 3 questions. How are we balancing financial inclusion and sustainability? Remember, kunena kuti our domain is the marginalized and underserved. Because you cannot talk about inclusion when you are reaching out to the already well-served. Then you are living your own dreams. Now, sustainability of the fund, well argued, rests on effective or repayment records. In Chifwajage, we use various models. Like, for example, they are the vulnerable groups. Tima user approach, imene would make us reach out to them well and mobilize them. Tisata ilile koma kalebe connected to us. So the Grameen model, imene advocates for group lending approach to the marginalized, is the one that has proven to be working. So you can see kuti munthu osauka sakhala ndi collateral sakhala ndi chilichonse. What is the alternative? Akhalepa gulu azilimbikitsana. And they can even put what we call group collateral. So group collateral can loosely be pieces of land owned by the group or some common asset owned by the group which can be pledged to NIF. Kamene kakabe kamakhala ka safer option in terms of our security as it were. Komanso, more importantly, if you can see, anthu awawa approach yathu is intensive. Tikati intensive, ndeuti timamba di training. There is no way you can come muntu wakati gole yi osabangidwa train. There is no way we can give you a loan without monitoring you. So nthawi zina mdzamva anthu anifa atiyendera nthawi yobweza ngogolesi inakwane iyayi nkungoona kuti odi muli moyo simudamwere mowa ndalama ziji. So those are the type of things. Even when it comes to the period for repayment, we even encourage, we follow. Komanso tima use ma approaches aja ngati restructuring to answer zijana fusa ena kunena kuti masiku ano kuli zambiri climate change ndizina zotero, people can fall worse off. Tima use refinancing, restructuring, rescheduling of the loan repayment. These 3 areas, so that we still move ndi anthu athu aja kuafika kwina. Zikafika pa last resort, imene we talk about collateral confiscation, ndekuti we have done everything we would have done. Ndekuti munthu yoyo wafika posa teka povuta kwambiri. Koma those cases are becoming less and less severe as we move, learning more from our clients. Measures of success other than disbursement levels. Remember, I did not use disbursement levels when I talked about the KPIs. The KPIs zikulu zimene ifeyo we measure success is impact on the economy. Remember, we have 3 objectives: impacting on economic growth, job creation, and entrenchment of entrepreneurship spirit. So, under one, economic growth, for example, this year, 1/3 of the grain production is from NIF. That's a good measure of success. 1/3 of tobacco production is from NIF loans. That's another measure of success. When we talk about 250,000 Malawians given loans, it's a measure of success. For that's job creation. By the way, maybe I didn't go that deep. Panoba, as it stands, job creation in NIFI has exceeded 1 million jobs created among Malawians. How? 250,000 Malawians, Alandira Ngongole, that's primary jobs or first tier of jobs. Second line or second tier of jobs or is secondary jobs, Malawi alembedwa ndi awawa. We also do studies and researches, and we have established a NIFI client would employ, let me use this percentage, 70% of NIF clients would employ a minimum of 2 other persons. 30% would employ none or would employ 1. You are getting that? Hey. Now we encourage new Rwanda zijatimati research mubwere mutipangire chifukwa amati story yo dzinenera weka imakhala yovuta koma tinenabe popeza umboni wathu ndiwoona ndiwogwirika umene tafika nawo konse ku Judea ndi ku Yerusalemu ndikutichitira umboni ochuluka. So izizi zikuchitika. In fact, there is one farmer who took a loan from NIF which financed 20% of all his capital investment this year. Amene analemba thousands of others. Koma timatenga amene ku economics as outlier, so tizitenga awawa amene ali within acceptable margins. So these are the measure of success. Yina ndi retainership. If more people keep borrowing from NIF, mwatenga ngongole yoyamba yakukankhani mwadzatenga, we have entrenched in you what we call enterprising spirit, because mukukhala bendi chidwi. So as many as over 70% ama clients hanif ndi amene they are on a retainership basis kuti anatengaso 2-3 years ago akunkabe napita chitsogolo. Amene sitimalola kutengaso ndi oti tinavutika nawo sana chite zolongosoka. Koma anavutika showing signs of potential to grow more, timapatsabe. So that's why we account for 70%. Your last question is, how is NIF leveraging on technology to reach to the Gen Z? We are a pro-technology company. Our recruitment, tangomaliza, tinakutagula new system, yochitira business, timati banking system. And among other things, to feed data into this CBS, we are recruiting our clients digitally. Mota anambiri akunifi mudzapeza ndithu andi ma tablet akuchita capture data, so we are calling real time data capturing so that it reduces the time for loan processing. That said, full digitalization is going to still be a long way to come about, because in Malawi, studies done by Macro and others have shown that as many as less than 30% of Malawians are digitally included. Tukamba izizi ndiye kuti anthu akumidzi aja ndangati ali pa ma smartphone chanchani ambiri kamose walero kaja. So you can't say awawa, we can successfully integrate them into the digital platforms kuti tizichita process all the loans 100%. Amene panopa tukwanitsako pang'ono to process. Now answering question anafusa wina kuti do you have any products zimene they are 100% digital? I would not say 100% digital, koma 90% digital. Then my employer supported loans. Ajati madula ku masalary aja, yeah, amene ajawo samativuta because muntu wangu otipatsa ma details ake atumiza electronically, yeah, ifeso tingompatsa mapepa la pang'ono oti ngofilabe. Pang'ono angutiko chidani koma tathana akangofira mapepa la amenewo zina zonse zimangoita electronically, salary timangodula uko ikamalowa kayazilira ife tingoduliratu. So I would say we are moving on account of this being an inherent challenge to fully digitize the country. We cannot say we have successfully made any of our products 100% digital. We are moving in that particular direction. Anafusa kuti agriculture as a sector is sensitive. Sensitivity, especially to climate change, it's true. Actually, ambili they are into agriculture production, amadandaula kwambiri. This year, we had so many farmers affected by weather. Drought, dry spells, komanso pest attack inali yayikulu kwambiri. Tinaphunzirapo because in 2023-24 season alimi ambiri anakomana ndi zimenezi. What did we do in 2024-25? Different. Tinachita introduce mandatory crop insurance. Mandatory crop insurance kuti anthu azikoma crop insurance imeneyi. Koma alimi ambiri anadzadandaula kuti ayi mutipweteka because insurance is an expense imene you can either benefit from it or not. So musapange ikhale mandatory. Ndiye tinadzakhwefula mkati mwa ndime. Koma zapezeka kuti bena achidwa affect. ndiye chaka chikubwerachi crop insurance is going to be mandatory. What do we mean by crop insurance? Crop insurance imene we are going to make it mandatory imene inali optional panopa timayuza two types, timati on yield and on loan. On loan ndiye kuti ungopanga insure loan yokhaija mwachitsanzo watenga 2 million ku NIF, ndiye kuti insurance company idzakulipira 2 million plus interest, iweyo you come back to the old base, nothing. On yield, which is more lucrative but very expensive, the insurance imene you will insure even the projected yield and the monetary value associated with what you wanted to yield. So imene it's the best. However, it's very expensive. Imene alimambiri amaika nilatu. So what we are saying is, if also being we take a risk, but to a particular extent, knowing fully kuti tumbali lizipitilira ndalama Malawi, we are proposing kuti the crop insurance or even livestock insurance must be mandatory. Another aspect to make it inclusive, going back to you wakuyunima, ndionena kuti panopa NIF for the first time tayamba kuvomera even livestock as a form of crop collateral. Panopa ndithu ng'ombe zija zithu khala collateral for loan imene ungatike ku NIF. Zimene mbuyo musizimatani sizimachitika. Now, how is this an inclusiveness approach? Because katundu ambiri amene amalawi amakhala naye, amene traditionally mabanki ndiye nasanga mvomere, ndi katundu amene coincidental amakhanda anthu ambiri. Ena inu mundivomereza mmidzi anthu akatali ndi katundu ndi mbuzi, ng'ombe, nkhuku. You can't say kuti collateral tufuna mukhale mutibweretsere Toyota Corolla ayitenga kuti. Land zambiri zimakhalanso zopanda matitle deed. Ife tikumavomera zimene zijazo by way of affidavits and other forms of verifiable ownership documents zimene munthu angationetse kuti zimene jatotengera ngongole. So the inclusiveness approach and agenda taiponyera kwakuya kwambiri kuphedi kumene kuti wina atipeze kumeneko kunde kuti akhale olimba mtima kwambiri. Now, so effects of success in terms of mitigating my risks awawa kwa farmers yatu, we can comfortably say there are respectable percentages, because mijira fotokozera mujangati last year farmers amene kunkhota-kota kunali floods kusalima ndi kwina, almost over 70% ya farmers amene anachita register that tinapanga compensate. Chifukwa enawo zijananena zija sana pange insure zinthu zawo, koma amene anapanga insurance wonse 100% napanga compensate. This year we have already received preliminary figures ya farmers amene they want compensation by way of something around 4 billion kwacha imene kufunika ti apange compensate farmers, but our insurer is looking into them so that we can begin the compensation process as soon as possible. So be assured, my insurance it benefits in it, koma titsindike kwa amene apanga ma insurance oyenerera. Chifukwa you can't take insurance ya moyo wako timati life cover kuti iweyo imene idzalowa m'malo mwa crop insurance ayi, chifukwa insurance ya mbewu imene ya on yield or on loan timanena ija is separate, koma iweyo utamwalira timachita cover ngongole imene ijayo chifukwa you have taken life cover insurance. Steps taken to turn around into digital, I think ndankakale zimenezo, koma fusolomaliza ndilonera kuti any collaboration between NIF and regulatory bodies, if ndiye timachita collaborate kwambiri ni ma regulatory bodies. For your information, our main regulator ifeyo ndi Reserve Bank of Malawi, amene we must subscribe to the standards, regulations and directives zimene wajawo amatipatsa. Koma enawa ngati Malawi Bureau of Standards, yes, pakafunikira mwachitsanzo iniyo mufuna udzatenga ngongole yopanga Joyce, timayitane wajawo kuti akuchiteni assess kuti zimene zija mwakwaniritsa nzotheka tikhoza kupatsani ngongole. Not only that, even in the course of the production of the commodities mwatengera ngongole zija amakuyenderani, and they make sure that you are living up to those particular standards. So mwachidule pali collaboration ya mphamvu kwambiri ifeyo ndi ma regulators amu industry. Ena it's mandatory day to day like Reserve Bank because it's our main line of business. Enawa it's as and when the situation demands for them to work with us. I think 5.
Thank you very much. Can we give a round of applause for that? I don't think that's loud enough. Can we give a round of applause? Thank you very much. In the interest of time, I'll take the last 5 questions. And then, wow, that's those are not going to be 5 questions. So what do you want me to do? Okay. So what we'll do is keep the hands up. And the ones that have raised their hand, please stand. So, okay, so what I will do is I'll give each one of us, if you're walking out, please don't stand. And so I'll give you 1 question, and if you have more, please ask 2. Be straight, introduce yourself. So I'll start with those that are on this aisle. Please don't sit down so that I don't get confused, because those that are standing will be the last lot of questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Elamze Muira, a master student of Education Policy and Planning.
The other mic is not there. We can't hear him. Okay.
Should I? Okay. Yes. My name is Lamze Muira, a master student pursuing Education Policy and Leadership. My question to the Chief Executive is concerning some political pronouncements which are maybe made during political rallies, where maybe the youth, even other people, are encouraged to go and get loans from the NIF. Considering that this year is an election year, where people can just come to NIF to ask for loans if they are not even serious, because they have just get the message from the political rally, they'll rush to NIF to collect the loans. So my question is, how is NIF assessing?
Can we settle down, please?
Okay.
Let's settle down.
How is NIF assessing the seriousness of these people who are coming to NIF to ask for loans? Considering maybe anything can happen in September, we are saying these institutions in most cases are attached to political government. Now when there is a change of government, definitely these loans may die out. So as an institution, how are you trying to sustain this important institution so that people repay the loans which they get from the institution? Thank you so much.
Thank you. How are we making sure that there is no political interference, being an election year? The next person. So the 2 that are on this side, can you please come already down so that we ask the questions?
All right, I'll ask in Chichewa. Zina langa ndine Menadi Lichosa. Funso langa ndiloti mukupanga buchani pa ma challenges amene mwakumana nawo chaka chino kumbali ya ulimi mwachisazo alimi ena amadandaula kuti fereleza amapasidwa anthawi yochedwa chimanga chambiri chitawonongeka kale nde kumbali imeneyo mukupanga chani ndi ma challenges ena onse amene mwakumana nawo as NIF. Ziko mwambiri.
Thank you. The next one. The gentleman at the back.
Good evening. My name is Innocent Shaligera, studying agriculture and applied economics in my second year. My question is very simple. The CEO talked about 3 pillars of NIF, mainly affordability, sustainability, and responsibility. I will center much on sustainability. I really want to know what strategies does NIF implement to ensure the sustainability of its agricultural loan programs for my fellow Gen Z farmers. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Donalisa Bawindo, doing Nutrition and Food Science, 4th year. My question is centered on women. Your stats are showing that men are the most people who are getting the loans. So I want to know what initiatives have been put in place so that you can balance the numbers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. But the statistics say that the women are more, but they are getting less of the share money. Go ahead.
My name is Thomas Chirwa, pursuing Bachelor of Science in Education. I'll be directly to the question. Okay, for us students as undergraduate or after graduating, we can not say that we have a collateral which you can offer to be granted the loan. So for students, what exactly measure do you take for us so that we can make a decision to make that easy for us, so that if we can say this is a collateral we need for someone who is just after just graduating, because we can say that, for example, according to me, I cannot say that I should offer this phone or I should offer the laptop for it to be granted to me. No. But all of, even a group of students, what a collateral do you need exactly for us?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. The next question.
My name is Dominic Fixon, Bachelor's of Natural Resource Management for FIE. Kulengera ndi statistics mene munaonesa ija imaonesa kuti pa central region pano ku Lilongwe ndi kumponera ku anthu atenga loan kwambiri compare ndi ku Blantyre. So anthu amakamba kunena kuti this loan is aligned with the political. Anthu amene amatenga loan iyi amakhala kuti they are aligned ndi chipani chimene chikulamula anthu amene. So tengera ndi ma tribalism zimakhupidwa kuti pa central pano are aligned with the MSP compared ndi ku southern. So tengera ndi statistics zikuone ngati ku southern atenga pang'ono compare ndi pano. Kodi inu mumapanga bwanji ensure kuti political isapange hinda chifukwa anthu ena sangapange apply loan potenga kuti zikupanga align ndi political.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The gentleman on this side, please find your way on this side. Go ahead.
My name is Lesford Andrick, pursuing Bachelor of Science in Communication and Journalism. Fusolanga kwambiri ndilokuzana ndi mene munene kuti loan tenure kwa anthu amene amenekera ngongole akatenga alime kumunda noti kudimba. Ndiye nkupezera zoti ngongole zapatsidwa zakumunda zitalimidwa kale say April. Ngati in terms of tenure ndeti nthawi imene alandira ngongoleyo ndi imene amenekera kuti ayambowerengeredwa kapena adikireso next season ngakhale katundu yapatsidwa kale. Chifukwa chonena kuti I'm referring kwa anthu kwa magrupu ena kunchinji amene ena apangidwa force kuti apange irrigation chifukwa chonoti zinthu zarani alandira pamene ena amakhaza kuti irrigation iza kwa iwo sangayikwanisa as a result production yawo ikhozipeza zoti apanga compromise kuti apeza zoti alipira chani loan.
My name is Felix Mademba. I'm doing natural resources management. I have two questions. One, ndiokuza ndi kutenga loan for investment. We know industries like Malawi is dominated by foreign companies based on sector mining or my industrialization. Can we take loan? Could it bank invest to my companies in Garamena Jao? Could let's say we should be improving on ourselves? Then you know, do they have the projection to improve? Kubanga focus on investment companies in Garamita. Kwa ma companies yakula kulungaramena jao muna magwe be secure diguri ita loan je sina bweze you could just go and take my shares at watch. Question number 2, my students ameti na baskuba nova, for example I myself tinima projects osiana siana amene no muna mage muraka rumango amvesera bangono atakhala abwino muna mage muna frogoza muja. For example munagamba onkani ya manyoa komaso ya seed ineyo I'm doing natural resource management to banga produce fertilizer. Sinuzori muraka uruma amvesera ma project osiana siana baskuba mpano muna mage mundoka interested kuri muna mage muve ngati zinthu ngazimezozo ndizoteka kuti tizikupeza ndi ma projects athu kuti munango zingomva chabe zakharuza opanga interest then munthu amazipasa ndrama momba dera kuti tizipitiriza ma production ngati ameno. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Stephen Malagi, pursuing Human Science and Community Services, year 2. My question is, as we know, here in Malawi, most farmers or small-scale businesses, people are illiterate people than those people that run big businesses. So, your requirements, there's a certain point you say that a person is required to write a business plan. So these people mostly they fail to write a business plan. So how you limit how NIF helps such kind of people? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get the last two questions.
Okay, ilizina yangu ndi Lucas Sikadwala chaka choyamba pano mabunda.
Okay, my question is 2023 ndiri ku holiday time meza form 4 kuna bwela nifi. I'm basically
So explain straight and go to the question.
yeah, kulimbi kuna bwela nifi. So they were asking people could if they want loan, they should pay 50,000 according to loan yoma kufunayo. Komana ntosana ende jani sana ende loan. So ndibafuna kufuza are you still doing this and why do this? Yet and tosuma basasa loan osi.
All right, thank you very much. Last question.
All right, I'm Pato Misoya, second year pursuing crop science. I was much focused on the statistics that we are given on how distribution of the funds is like going on. And I noticed Woody, with the question that has also been asked, Woody, in prevention to these rumors that are spread throughout Kunena Woody, the NIF is somehow political. Ndimomwe munabwera ndi strategy chayonena kuti you should just have this vision kuti in a particular time, in a particular period of time, mukhale kuti each and every constituency is having your branch. So ndimangofuna ndifunse kuti is it like it's for how long that have you said that for this vision should be covered, and which methods are you trying to use that in that particular period you have it, you have the branches settled in every constituency? Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for coming forward to ask your questions. I will, in the interest of time, and I will kindly and humbly ask the CEO if I can give him 10 minutes. I know he can speak as late as we can, but in the interest of time, in the next 10 minutes, he can respond jointly to the different questions because some were similar, and then we conclude at that. Over to you, CEO. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Ngwira wanted assurance that there are political pronouncements being made, and these political pronouncements might affect assessment of the quality of clients otenga ngongole kunifi. How are we going to achieve the quality? Mwina boma litu sintha according to Mr. Ngwira. Tilindi laid down procedures and processes for recruiting clients. Sititenga kwa ndale kuti awa apatseni ngongole lero awa msapatse ayi tilindi set and laid down procedures and policies. Andale ntchito yawo nkuchita create timati awareness. And my MP and my ministers, they are at liberty to do that, to create awareness kwa anthu. Akoza kwa uza anthu awo kuti katengeni ngongole kunifi. Koma that does not mean kuti munthu uja akabwera nde kuti atenga ngongole. They have to be assessed like anybody else. So we wanted to allay those fears. Kuti NIFI does not get instruction from any politician kuti awapatseni ngongole awapatseni awamsapatse iyai. We have enviously set standards and safeguarded our business in that particular respect. That notwithstanding it in any, these loans are for every marginalized Malawian. Muntu yakozo khala area chairman kumudzi kwako koma ngati ali marginalized and qualifies to get a loan atha kutenga ndithu. Koma timakhala ndi further assessment timati politically exposed persons, PEPs, they undergo a second layer of assessment. Makamaka awama udindo kuchipani ndi zina timadutsitsa mmenemo. Koma every Malawian can get, we don't get instruction from any politician. Politika nthawi kanga nkochepa mwina limeneli nditero. Challenges affecting distribution of fertilizer tikuyamba mochedwa. We have learned what we are continuously learning. Tikati continuously learning ndiye kuti mwaitsanzo chaka chino tachita mapulani onena kuti farm input loan tiyambe kugawa pa 1 September. Last year tinachedwa chifukwa kugawa fertilizer kuja it was an afterthought. Boma limanena kuti tipereke ndalama. Koma tiona ndalama kuboma bwera mochedwa ndiye kuti alimi ambiri akadavutika. What we opted for is to give those willing fertilizers. Fortunately, mvula inamba somochedwa m'madera ambiri m'Malawi January amakhala akuzala. Moti fertilizer ambiri tinamugawa mu January, and according to many farmers, over 90% ama farmers athu, that time was timely. Koma tiyamike ndi zinachitika chifukwa cha nyengo. So fertilizer was on optional basis. Palibe amene tinampatsa fertilizer mochedwa chifukwa timanena kuti it's an option, not a must. So mwachitsanzo munthu ngati adalandira fertilizer kwina wake February ngati kuchitipa amakhala akuzalabi kukalonga I was there in February anala akulima kumene minda yambiri. To them that was still timely. Tikumvetsetsa because mvula inali isanagwe. Now munthu akanama kuti ndipatseni be fertilizer, it's still timely. Sitimankanize chifukwa adachita apply chani ngongole koma later on yo jamata ndofuna ndikatsire kudimba ndidzakwitsa ntchito chaka chamawa, which was against the policies mene tinali nazo. So anthu achoncho, that was an acceptable practice. It was cheating on their part. So this year titsindike tiyamba mofulumira kwambiri September so that many people get the fertilizers on time. Strategies, I think linaliyankha kale kwambiri ma presentation yanga kuti ma agriculture loans will be made sustainable, especially to Generation Z, by way of one, the cooperative approach, azikhala magulu akulu, so that they can nurture the concept of loan management, management of agriculture practices, and in the process build their own capacities. Kuti 2-3 years they can get the loans as individuals. So akuyamba pagulu to build that resilience in them to lend. Number 2, mujakamba kuja kuti intense follow up. Chifukwa ndalamazi mwachitsazo tiuzane zona. Ena kuti akagwire million kakhala koyamba. Mwina ena akhala akugwira ali pa college tiyamika ambuye chifukwa cha chimenechi. Koma ambiri kakhala koyamba. So kungoona dzina la million zizikakhanga ndalamazi ambiri, before you know it ngongole yaonongeka. So it's the sustainability way is by way of one, the group lending approach. Number 2, training them. Kuti akatinga ngongoleza azigwiritsa ntchito bwino moyenera. Number 3, monitoring and following them up. Lastly and more importantly, continuous lending to them upon successful repayment of the previous loans until akozuchita graduate ndikukhala paoka ndikumatenga ngongole zikulu. By the way, we start small. Mukabwera inu anthu 10 sitingakupatseni 250 million. The next thing itipeze kuti galimoto yakugundani musewu. Koma what you must do is gradually mpakana mukhozofika potenga ngongole zikulu. Ndiye kuti 10 years from now, Madam Convener, tikozokhala ndi anthu amene aphunzitsidwa by way of entrepreneurship, komanso they have been well capitalized in the process, and then we can build that generation. As a women, I think what I said is in terms of numbers, women in Dambili, in terms of the amount gotten is less. Hii lesson yake ndio nina kuti azimayambira akabwera kumabwera nditi ma business tingona as opposed to men. Now what are we supposed to do? To work with the capacity building agencies amene amachita focus kwambiri on women, komanso other actors of goodwill, including training institutions, to build more capacity mwazimayiwa kuti akamabwera azitenga ngongole zikulu to match or even beat the men as it were. Koma kunoku being kwayambirira, we should accept that particular pattern kuti izikhalapobe, because the women wakabwera malingati needs awo akumatenga ngongole zambiri. Ndiye nifi simakakamiza munthu kuti afuna 1 million aya komatenga ni 5 nanga akavutika kudzabweza zikhala za mtundu 1. So let's accept the growth path. Just like youths, women are also growing, most of them. The most encouraging thing is they are more resilient than men. What do I mean by resilience? I'm a pillar business, I'm a estate, and they repay so that they get again another loan in the days to come. Students don't have collateral. What measures are there to accommodate them? Mujafroze mujataika ngongole ya vugani, ya osaukitsitsa, imene imayambira 150,000 malire 1 million mukhoza kutenga ndi imeneyi. Mukadzafuna 2 million 3 million ndiye kuti mukhale mutachita graduate mwachita accumulate asset base imene kani stand for you as collateral. Ngongole yavukani imakhala m'magulu muja ndafotokozera muja. Uku nkuyamba kuphunzitsana. Inu yonse mungabwere simunagwirepo ndalama simunachitepo business mudzambe kutenga 100 million. Chifukwa mikumbukirani ndalama za dziko. Inenso ndili pano have the responsibility a custodian of these national resources. There I can't be that careless kuti ndana sulu afuna ndalama zambiri nkuwapatsa. The next thing iboma likafunsa ndalama zili kuti andapatsana akuluwana amaoneka very business minded koma sakubweza ndiye kuti tsopano simudzamvaso msanga zaine except kuti milandu ije yapita kumaula judgment lilero munthu uyu wabetsa ndalama za boma. So it's a balance, right? Yeah. Ngongolezi zioneka kuti kwatenga ambiri anthu akulilongwe ndi Mponera kusiyana ndi anthu akunsanje ndi ku Blantyre kusiyana ndi anthu akuchitipa. Funso lobwezera anene utenga zambiri ndani? Yakasiti yambira anene utenga zambiri ndani chifukwa chiyani? Amene afuna zambiri ndiye awawa anafuna zambiri pa nthawi imene. So timvetsetse on a more serious note. Ngongole za ku NIFI zimatengedwa on demand. It's demand driven. Now the biggest demand ya ngongole zathu ndi agriculture loans. So mutha kuona kuti Lilongwe, Mponera, Mchinji, these are people that have large pieces of land. Number one, tichita acknowledge that. Remember ndimanena kuti tagawa 235 billion kwacha mungongole, of which in excess of 120 billion zapita kwa agriculture. Tumvala mebet? The other portion ndi imene apita ku business. So if you remove agriculture, mukhoza kuona kuti if mukambochita analyze general business loans, the South claims a large share. Chifukwa chani? Naturally ku South amakonda ma business as opposed to agriculture lending because malo kumene kuja kulibe ndi zina zotero. So mukamachita analyze the way the resources have been spread, muziyangana various dynamics in those particular respects as it were. Again, another important element imene muyanganire ndionena kuti Lilongwe is no man's land. Mukulilongwe mukhoza kupeza munthu wakulikonse. Such that even anthu apa Central Region nawonso timavutikana amanena kuti mukamachita analysis ya the way the laws are spread muzichotsamo Lilongwe. Chifukwa that one is an outlier. Ndibwerabe ku econometrics konkuti. Lilongwe you can't say ndi anthu ka mwina ndachewa ka MCP or whatever. Lilongwe is for everybody. It's no man's journey. It's no man's land. And Lilongwe mo to date mwalo wakale in excess of 30 billion. Just that Lilongwe town, urban, we should be very clear. Zikutumikira mitundu yosiyana siyana. Another important thing ndi nene iyi agriculture lending. Minda imene ili ku Kasungu, Lilongwe, Mchinji, olimaga from all parts of the country. Koma akatenga ngongole ija sitimane kuti iwe ndi wakurumpi, ndiye kuti ngongole iti ike pa rumpi. Timapereka ngongole, timaichita rekodi kumene auchita business. Zumveka zimene? So Mr. Angwira from Mzimba ali ndi munda ku Kasungu atenga ngongole ilowa pa Kasungu. Zumveka zimene? Yeah, so these are also other dynamics. So analysis yoti ngongole yapita kwa chipani chakuti kapena yapita kwa mtundu wakuti kapena anthu akuti would be so flawed without looking into the parameters amene NIFI imayang'ana and how it captures its loans with regard to ma origins kumene anthu atenga ngongole zimenezi. Koma the bottom line is we must make sure kuti every constituency kwalowa ngongolezi. Chifanga khala anthu atapanda kuzifuna constituency takakamiza atenge kobe because it's their share as well in the national cake. Zumveka zimeze? What happens to tenure of loans if people get the loans and were forced to do irrigation? Palibe pamene tinankakamiza kuti ngongole watengai panga ulimi wanthilira kapena munthu amene akutenga ngongole ku NIFI titsindike chimenechi akuitenga pacholinga chimene ngongole ikuperekedwera. Fertilizer amene tapereka kwa anthu amene akuchita ulimi wanthilira ndi wa ulimi wanthilira. Amene tidapatsa wa ulimi wakumunda ndi wa ulimi wakumunda. Amene tidapatsa kashi mu Epulo atatenga ngongole ya ulimi wakumunda ndi ya ulimi wakumunda chifukwa ngongole ndalama zikachedwa kunifi ndife institution yabwino kwambiri inuyo mapanga apply last year mwina ndalama tinalibe nthawi imeneyo chifukwa chani timakhala opanda ndalama nthawi zina one chifukwa yoti timadalira government funding imene mwina sibwera nthawi yake. Two timadalira ma collections imene mwina anthu ena sabweza mu nthawi yake zimene zimachita affect our liquidity levels to turn over those collected funds to loans to other groups. Now ukakhala kuti iweyo unapanga apply ngongole padutsa nthawi yoposa 3 months tisanakupatse timakufunsa are you still interested? Ndiye umayankha yes I'm still interested koma napempha 2 million mundionjezere ikhale 3 million because of inflation, because of ma factors ena onse amene achitika ku economy. That's how we do it. So munthu aliyese sanganene kuti nifi ampatsa ngongole imene sabweza satani timakhala kuti takambirana kuti panali ma factors awa inachedwa tikupatse. So it means kuti munthu mwachitsanzo tinampatsa ya ulimi wakumunda yo malira ake ndi September la kubweza ngongole zipezi ndiye May wabwera kuti amundipatsebe ngongole ichi timafunso limukachita nayo chiyani chifukwa ulimi wakumunda unatha ayi ngongoleyi ndikagulira masaka odindira foja ndiye timadziwa kuti foja wake sakagulitsa December agulitsa June July yomwe ndiye kuti ife ngongole ija timudulira malira achano omwewa a June July yomwe koma interest ikhala yotsika chifukwa pachatina kuti interest imachita charge per month ndiye kuti ikhala yotsika. Pamvetseka bwino apeti. Kodi munthu akhoza kutenga ngongole kunifi akagule mashare ukampani ina akachite invest kumene gogo ndiye ifeyo tizilimbana ndi kampani imene ija nkumadikirira kuti iyeyo alandire mashare iyaya bali sititero iyayo inuyo muchite business. We are empowering you. We are not empowering a company already established. Zumveka zimezo. It's not our business. Aja akatenge ngongole ku bank iweyo tikupanga empower growing you from the roots. That's our business for now. Kodi mukhoza atenga project ya student ikakukomerani nkuipanga fund atengere ngongole. We can only do that under partnership. Chifukwa project is a research. Tudziwa zimeze? So research imakhala ndi probability of failure, probability of success. Now our risk taking is moderated as an institution. Tuvala mebe? We can't invest mu chinthu cha 50-50 so the percentage of success must be very high. So itakhala kuti technology yanu ija ndiyotheka ena adayiyesa kale ili already on the market muthu utengera ngongole koma osati ife tithandizane ndinu tizibwera kuno kuluwana kodi lero mwathirira mpiro wanu uja zimene zife sinafike pa level imene. Anthu ali illiterate and they require ujeni kodi matani ma business plan ndi zina malon officer athu ntchito yake nkuphunzitsa kuthandiza kupereka ngongole kutsatira ngongolezo kuzitolera ndi kutseka ngongole mukamaliza. So anthu amene ali illiterate amathandizidwa ndithu kalembedwe ka business plan kungoti tipamakhala cut off point amatha kuwuzira kuti apeze munthu awalembere chifukwa chone kuti a detailed business plan ndi ntchito yapadera timvetsetse zimene zetu imene sotsopano iweyo ukamalemba it's like kuuza aphunzitsi ako kuti akulembere mayeso ndiye kuti alemba with vested interest. Zimveka zimeze? So ifeyo tufuna client yu tikumpatsa capacity osati capacity ikhale so ifeso so titomuuza pezani munthu huyo timulangiza business plan timalemba chonchi kalembereni awo sitilolanso by the way loan officer kulandira ndalama kuti akulembereni business plan akatero ntchito yeyo yatheratu titsindike pamenepo olinuyo mkadzabwera nkuchita zimenezo idzatha tsiku lomwelo ntchito tidzachita kutumiziranso apolisi akuthamangitseni kumene muli. Anthu amauzidwa kuti apereke ndalama ma 50,000 ma 60,000 koma ngongole sanatenge. We have to verify ndalama imene amapereka munthu kunifi timati processing fee. Timvetsetsa pamenepo I hope alipo akulu amene ati processing fee koma masiku ano chifukwa cha umaumphawi ya anthu makamaka ngongole za ulimi sitimachaja processing fee timangoichita timati grossing up as part of the load imene atenga ija. Zumveka zimeze chifukwa ambiri idisama zimvetsa ena aso amachedwa kupeza ngongole kuti akasake processing fee abweretse zimativuta ndiye kwa ngongole zambiri masiku ano fees yo sitidachotse ikumakhalapo koma tikumayichita gross up. ena akakhala business akuluakulu amati amudule kungongole yanga yomweyo zumveka zimeze koma munthu wadzatenga 1 million tizidulaponso timangoti ayi it's part of the loan ndekuti 1 million mwatenga processing fee inali zingati 200,000 ndekuti ikhala ngati 1.2 zumveka zimeze kumapita chitsogolo like that. Funso lomaliza munafunsa kuti yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, akundi unikira sopena kunena kuti ngati munthu it's a case of kola alipo akulu amene muchifamwina tuvutika mkweka funso ya ene akapita ku front alipo ayi chabwino if there was intent to defraud kuba chinyengo chiphuphu timvetse zimenezi can those cases be reported muchalimanena kuti we have gone digital tili ndi page